CS120 Lab 4, Formatting and Customizing Documents in Microsoft Word, Pause and Practice Activities. We'll begin by opening the Resume 02 document from the data files. All right, now that we have the document open, we can begin. We'll go ahead and save this in with our name. So go to Save As, Resume 02 OPM PPW2 It looks like I forgot to go to the end. PPW2-1. Okay. So the next step is we're going to go ahead and change the margins of this. So the margins are the areas on the left and right side of the page that are empty here, and at the top and bottom of the page that are empty. So we're going to go, start out with the Layout tab. And we're going to go to the Page Setup option here. And while there is a Margins option over here, we're going to use the Page Setup dialog box. And here we'll go ahead and we'll change the margins to 0.75 for the top. I'm going to press the Tab key and it'll move to the next field. And I'll press 0.75. And then we'll go on the left and right side. Instead of typing it in, I'm going to use these up and down arrows. We'll change these to 1 inch on both sides. We'll next go down and ensure that we're going to be setting this for the whole document rather than just a specific portion of the document. And then I'll click OK, and you should notice that the edges here are much narrower, top and bottom, than they were before. We'll next work with tabs. So tabs are a way of moving the text on a line away from the edge of the document, or to move it in further along different portions of the document. So if I were to put the cursor at this location and press the Tab key, you'll notice that it moved this in from the left side of the page, and by default it moves it in 1/2 inch. And that's what that indicator up here means. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do an undo here. And we'll move into the text where we're going to be adding a different than default tab stop to our document. So we're going to do this here in the Loomis, California line. And we're going to go up to the paragraph area under the Layout tab. And I'll click the dialog launcher here, and at the bottom of this page there's a tabs area. We'll click on this. So we're going to want this to start at the 6.5 inch area on the page, which actually is the right side margin starting point. We'll leave the default as is. We're going to have this one, instead of the text aligning to the left side of the cursor, we're going to have it aligning to the right side of the tab. So we'll click that here. A leader is some items that it will place in front of the tab. You'll see what this means here in just a moment. So I'll go ahead and I'll click this. We're going to do number 3. I'll click Set, so that adds that tab stop to our document, and I'll click OK. So you notice what it's done here is right before the October area where there was a tab, it placed this dashed line across here. This can be useful in certain business documents you may be creating. We'll next be working with a format painter. For this we have to go back to the Home tab, and it is this item on the clipboard. We've used this before. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the formatting from this line and we're going to apply it to some other lines in the document. And we're going to do this multiple times instead of once. So if I just click on this one time, it'll allow me to do one format. So I'm going to go ahead and do it on this line. And you'll notice the format painter turns off. So I'm going to do an undo here. And this time, let's make sure once in here, I'm going to double click it. Now if I double click it, it'll allow me to do this multiple times. So I'll come down to the Winters California line again, click on it, and you'll notice Format Painter stays on. And I'll do this in the other areas of our document where it's asked us to. And that is done. Now to turn off the Format Painter, we could do this in a couple of ways. One is I could just click once on the Format Painter, or my favorite way is just to press the ESC or Escape key. Next we'll be working again with tab stops. So to work here, we're going to come down here under the References section, and I'm going to highlight this. When I highlight this, you'll notice up here on the ruler, we have this little funny little symbol. If I hover over it, it says left tab. So this is a left tab stop, which means if I press the tab key, in this case, that is a symbol for the tab. It moves this over to that tab stop position. Now, if I move away from that highlighted text, you'll notice that that tab spot disappears because the only place that it is set up to work is at this particular location of the document. So what we're going to do here is we are going to remove this and then set a different tab stop. So I highlighted the text, and then I'll go to the paragraph launcher. I'm going to click the tab buttons again, and then we're going to select the existing tab stop, which happens to be the 2.5, and then I'm going to click the clear button to remove that. We're then going to put 3.75 inches, and then I'm going to choose the left tab as it should be defaulted. And then I'm going to make sure we do not have any leader on this. I'll click the Set button to assign the tab spot, and I'll go ahead and close this. So we've moved over that tab stop to the 3.5 inch position. The last step in this activity is to work with indents. Indents are similar to working with the margins, except they only apply to certain areas of the text. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to click in this paragraph here. We're going to go to the Layout tab, and here under the Paragraph group, we're going to change the indent. At this point, it's 0, which is the default. I'm going to change this to 0.25, press the Tab key, goes down to right, and you'll notice down here it has pushed this in a quarter inch. We'll do this the same thing on the right side, and that has moved this in a quarter inch on this edge as well. Moving on to pause and practice activity 2-2, I'll start as normal by saving this as a different name. So we'll do this as 2-2 and save. Start by editing the document properties. We're going to be adding some information to the title. So we'll go to the File tab. We'll go ahead and we'll come down to the Info tab. There it is. And we'll come over to find the title. And we're going to name this Rachel Wilkinson. And I'll press the Enter key, and we'll go back to the regular document. We're going to now use that document property in our document. We're going to be placing this in the header. So we'll go ahead and go to the Insert tab. That's where we can work with the header. The header and footer group is here. So I'll click the down arrow here, and we're going to do an edit to the header. So at this point, the cursor has moved up into the edit or the header area. And you'll also notice a new tab is opened up on the tab bar. This is known as a context-sensitive tab. It opens when you're working with certain items within Office products. Here we're going to go over to Document Info on the Insert group. I'll click the down arrow, and we just put the document title in, so we'll click that and place it here. We'll next add some page numbering to our document. So to do this, we're just going to stay in the header field, but I'm going to go ahead and move away from this by pressing the right arrow, and you notice it de-highlights that. We'll go ahead and press the Tab key. If I press it once, it moves over to this center tab that has been placed in this document in the header, and this is normal. You'll have a left tab, a center tab, and a right tab in the header and footer. Do it one more time, and this will place it on the right side of the document. This is a left tab because it'll push the text to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type the word page here. Press the space. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a special character in that will place the page numbers. So I'll come up under the header and footer group where it says page number. So I'll click on here. And I'm going to move to where it says current position. You notice it highlights that. And I'm going to select plain number. And I'll click that. So now it's got page 1 here and page 2 here of the document. Now this is nice to have the page numbers, but we may want to have page numbers that show what page it is of the total number of pages. So to do this, we'll go ahead and I'm going to click after the 1 on the first page here. I'm going to press the space bar, type of, and then space. And then I'm going to go and we're going to do some more document info. We'll click on the Document Info tab, button, and then we'll go to the field option underneath that. So there's a bunch of different fields that we can add in here. So I'll scroll down the list until I find num of pages. And then it asks me how I want to format this. So I'm going to format this in the 1, 2, 3 style. Press the OK button, and that places the number 2 here. Now if I were to add additional pages, this would automatically update for us. Okay, we're going to do one last thing here within our header. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to first make the header a little larger so it's not squished together as much as it is up here. Now oftentimes on the first page you don't want anything in the header, you only want this afterwards. So we're going to go ahead and change that. And this is a relatively simple operation. All we have to do, ensure we're in the header footer tab, go to the options group, and there is an option for different first page. So if I click that, it removes the header from here and then keeps it on the second page. And that ends this Pause and Practice activity. We're now starting Pause and Practice activity 2-3. In our first portion of this activity, we're going to be doing some bulleted lists. So a bulleted list is items where you put single lines of text and you have bullets in front of them. You can do these manually, or you could already have the text, and I'll highlight the text we want to change here. And we can click on one of the bullet types. There are numbered bullets and there are just single symbol bullets. So that will change this to an indented bulleted list. We can change this to other types of bullets. So there are bullets, there are circles, etc. These are part of the bulleted library. Or we can define a new bullet and come up with some numerous different options here. So if I click on the symbol here, I could change this to any of the symbols here. We're going to go use a particular symbol font. It's called Wingding. I know it's a funny name, but it has some really interesting symbols as a part of it. So I can click Wingding here, and we're going to choose the check mark option. And I'll click OK twice. So this will change this to a check mark. We're next going to take this format that we created here, and we're going to put this in different areas. So I'm going to come up to the Format Painter, I'll double click on it, and then I'll come down and I'm going to highlight the areas that I want this format. So I want it there, I want it there, and I want it here. Things are not quite what they should be, not lining up the best, but that will go ahead and set that for us. We'll go ahead and fix this problem that we have created by changing the position of this text and putting it on the next page. Now I currently have Format Painter selected, so let's just go ahead and turn that off by clicking on it. So I'm going to move from Education onward to the second page. So I'm going to click in front of it, and we're going to go ahead and go back to the Layout tab. And there's this area called Breaks, so I'll click on it, and we want to add a page break. So I did that. It moved Education to the second page, and you'll notice here it put a page break. Now once again we're seeing this because I've turned on the document properties using this button here. If I turn this off, it'll disappear. That's not going to print on our document. But I like to leave it on so I can see what is happening within the document. We'll next be working with themes and styles. So a theme changes a document fully. So we'll go ahead and get to the theme area, and that's under the Design tab. So over here on the left we have themes that we can apply, or we could just choose one of these. So we want to choose a particular one. It's called the Ion theme. You'll notice as I hover over these, it'll show you what it's going to look like before I apply it. So I'll click the Ion option here. I'm going to then come over to Colors, and we're going to choose the red color as a part of this theme. So we're next going to apply some styles. Now styles apply to certain areas of the document. So for this we're going to go back to the Home tab, and the styles area is here. So I'm going to choose the Rachel Wilkinson text, and then I'm going to apply the heading 1 style to this. And it wants us to change the font size, so I'll come over here to the font area and make that larger. And then we're going to go to different areas in here. We're going to go to the Profile, and I'm going to highlight these slightly different. So I'm going to highlight them all at the same time, and I'm doing this by first highlighting, then I hold the Control key down, and I'm going to go each of these areas: Education, Skills, and References. And then I'm going to go to our Styles area, and we'll call this heading 2. In the last step of this activity, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do an edit to one of the styles. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place the cursor in front of Profile here. And I am going to change the before paragraph spacing to 16. So I'll go ahead and click the down arrow here. And spacing area is here, so I'll change this to 16. And then I will say OK. So this added a little bit of space above this. And we'll go ahead and we'll go to right click on the heading 1. And we're going to do update heading 1 to match the selection. So this will change the style for this particular location going forward. We're then going to select a different area in the document. This will be the California State Child Development Center. And I will change the font size here to 11. It actually is already 11. And I'll right click heading 2 here to match, to update, to match selection as well. So that makes a slight difference to the styles. Styles aren't used that often, but they can be very powerful if used correctly. Okay, that ends this activity. We're now at the final activity in this pause and practice activities. We're going to be doing some editing to the document to finalize it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a find and replace feature. I'd like to go ahead and make this larger again so we can actually see things a little better. So we're going to go ahead and place the insertion point at the top of the document, so right here. And then I'm going to click the replace button on the home tab, and that is over to the right under the editing group. So go ahead and click there. And the window opened in the wrong window. So I'm going to type a hyphen symbol here. And in the replace area, we're going to choose a special character to replace that with. So I'm going to click the More option here. We're then going to click the special at the bottom. And we're going to use a special type of dash called an N dash. And this is the symbol that it shows here, but that's not exactly what will appear in the document. So we'll go ahead and I will close that, and then we'll click the find and replace to say find next. So it goes and it finds the first dash that we have in the document. We'll go ahead and we'll click find next, so it goes to the next area. And then we're going to do this between the date. We're going to go ahead and click replace. You'll notice it's a slightly larger dash. So we're going to do this for each of the dates. So we did that one. We don't want to do it here. So I'm going to say find next. We want to do it there. We'll go ahead and do it there as well. Not there. And we've ultimately finished using the search and replace button for this. We'll next be working with some borders on the document, so I'm just going to go ahead and close the find and replace windows. So we currently have that on, so we're going to go to the profile section and select the paragraph here. And then we're going to click on the borders drop down, and that is in the home tab, if I can find it. Oh, here it is in the paragraph group. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the down arrow, go to borders and shading. And over here, we're going to add a shadowed border. We're going to make sure we have the top line style selected. We're then going to go to the color option, and we're going to make this, let's just make it kind of a red here. That's good enough. And we'll go ahead and click on the width, which is down here. We'll make that a little bit larger. We'll make that a point in width. We'll select the paragraph here. So we're going to apply this to the paragraph we have selected. You can apply that to even just a smaller area of text. And we're going to go ahead and click OK to close this, and it will place a border around the selected area. It makes it stand out a little bit better. Now, we don't always have to surround a group of text with a border. We can just put a single border, and we're going to do that here at the header group up here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click in the header group on the second page of the document. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go to the borders option again here. Let's go back to the home tab. I'll click the drop down arrow, and then I'm going to click bottom border, and you'll notice it is red, and it's actually 1 point because it remembered the settings that we had used previously over here. Go ahead and I'm going to go back to the header and footer group, and I'll close the header and footer. We're next going to change the email address here to a hyperlink. So I'll go ahead and I'll select the email address, and then I'm going to have to go to the Insert tab, and we'll come across to the Links group, so I'll click on the link itself. So we have to go ahead and make some changes here. So in the text to display, we don't want to display the actual email address. Actually, we do. And then I will go ahead and click the email address option here, and we'll change that to richlw@outlook.com. And we'll go to the email address. We'll do the same thing at outlook.com. You notice it placed this thing mail to. That's a special symbol to tell it to open your mailing program and create a new mail message to this address that you've placed here. We're also going to add a screen tip here. What a screen tip does is it will have some hover over information to the reader of the document. So I'm just going to say email Rochelle, and we'll click the OK, and then we'll click OK. You notice that this changed to a hyperlink. If I hover over it, it says email Rochelle. We'll next add a hyperlink to a website. So we're going to go to the references section here, and we're going to go ahead and choose California State University in Chico. And we'll go ahead and click on the link button again. And then we'll select, we want to go to an existing file or web page. So in this case, where it says address, we're going to go ahead and type www.csuchico.edu. And you notice it places the HTTP before the email, or excuse me, before the website. We'll do another screen tip here, and we will say CSU Chico website, and click OK. And it asks us to do a target frame here. Now what this is going to do is it's going to tell us in our browser how we want this web link to open. So we'll go ahead and we'll click here, and we're going to go open in a new window, and we'll click OK, and we'll say OK here, and it's placed this hyperlink for us in this location. The last step we'll be doing here is adding hyperlinks here through an automated process in Word. So I'll select behind an email address here, and I'm just going to press the space button. And you'll notice that it selects a hyperlink here, or excuse me, puts a hyperlink to an email address here, and I can do the same thing at the end over here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to skip the next section, and this is using the Resume Assistant, as it is not in every version of Office. Okay, this ends the pause and practice activities for Lab 4.